Hi everyone, welcome to journey number 6, and today we have Janel Favreau, which I think I got that right after we just went over it. How are you doing, Janel?
I'm really good. How are you, Jared?
Very good. I've actually been really excited to have you on. I think that you have a lot of really cool, unique perspectives and are doing a lot of really interesting things. And just interested to get to know you on a little bit of a deeper level too. So, yeah, I'm excited.
I
And
am too.
yeah,
I
and
actually, I will admit, I feel like I've been on the hamster wheel a little bit
okay,
more recently and haven't taken a ton of time to pause and think about my journey, where I've been and where I'm going. And booking this podcast kind of forced me to stop and take a look at that. So yeah, I really appreciate it. And this is what you talk about. So even just to bounce some ideas and thoughts off you, I'm really looking forward to it.
me too. It's so important every once in a while just to take that reflection time, right? To stop and, like you say, get off that hamster wheel and just, yeah, just put things in perspective too, I think is super important. So I'm glad that this will give you that opportunity. And so I guess if you could just start with telling everybody a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what you're doing now, yeah, everything like that.
Okay. So I'm born and raised in Calgary.
Hmm.
I believe you are too.
Yes.
Yes. And I have a twin sister. I'm 11 minutes older. So
Yeah.
I'll always hold that over her head, even
Yeah.
though she is the alpha twin in some ways. Um, but yeah, we grew up in Calgary. Kind of normal childhood, I guess, for these standards. Our parents were divorced when we were quite young, but having my best friend with me in life really helped, even though I was only seeing my parents half the time. Um, my family's in a really great spot now where we actually can vacation together. It's
Nice.
actually insane, like all family dinners, where the divorce did not keep us apart for long.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's kind of my childhood. Nothing crazy. Still
And
here in.
yeah, I was just going to jump in there and ask about that. What did that process look like? Was that, kind of a gradual thing of over time, it just, you were able to, spend time together as a family, even though there was the divorce? Was it more gradual? Was there a specific event that kind of kicked that off?
There was actually 2008. The recession was really difficult on my dad. He is a finishing carpenter, or he was by trade. And then when the recession hit, no one was renovating their, multi-million dollar mansions anymore. And that's pretty much where he worked. So um, at that time, it was like he evaded his taxes when he was younger. My dad's like one of those cool cats, who like bucked the system.
Yeah.
So so yeah, 2008 was really hard because I think that's when he actually had to start paying taxes and there was no work. So he couldn't get a cell phone. I think he went bankrupt in that time.
Hmm.
And my mom put my dad on her cell phone plan. And that was kind of the start, I think, of everything really, really becoming super tight knit again.
Yeah.
They were civil, they had to be. But yeah, I'm so grateful that this is my life, that my dad will go mow my mom's lawn because they bought a lawnmower together. Like they're actually so cute.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the cutest divorced couple you can ever imagine. And yeah, I don't really use the word blessing, but it's a blessing. Yeah, I'm really, my family situation is something that I don't take for granted ever. And that's probably why I'm still here. I'm like so close with my family still. And it's nice to be able to have family dinners every couple weeks, every month.
That's so good to hear. And sorry to go deep off the beginning here. But a question I have, and I think it might help a lot of people that, come from, divorced homes is, in that process where your father and mother were starting to become close again, was there any, like, was it fairly clear to you, and I don't know if you can speak for Lane, but as children, was it clear to you that they weren't, even though they're now closer, they're still not getting back together? Or was there like a hope there? You know, kind of
Mm.
how did that go?
You know, um, no, like they never really dated. They like dated a few people each themselves, but it never really worked out.
Mhm.
I don't think I really had the hope because of, stories that each parent would share. Um, but I mean, maybe as a little kid, I could say. Um, but yeah, even just the fact that they're civil is
Yeah,
a huge win.
for sure. And then the other thing I was curious actually is I don't know why I've always been curious about, let's call it, twin dynamics. And like you said, having your best friend there with you through everything. And also it was interesting for me to hear that you call her the alpha twin, right? And um, yeah, can you just go into a little bit more of that, of what it was like having a twin growing up? Do you think, was there anything that was positive about it and negative about it that you can specifically point to, or was it just kind of the normal because that's all you knew?
Mm. Yeah, good question. I actually can tell you the negative right off the bat.
Okay.
Um, Lane and I have come to the conclusion that if we didn't have each other, we maybe would have done like more sports or extracurriculars. We never really felt that need to socialize more outside of our little duo. Um, and we always had the same friends too. Like if Lane made a new friend, I want to like just by default that person had to be my friend too.
Yeah.
So, and that's changed a lot over our lives. Um, I mean, the positive thing is that you just have someone who literally knows your mind. They know everything you've gone through. They've gone through it at the same time. Um, so it's like a best friend on like steroids. Like it's just extra. And yeah, no, we're still so close to this day. And I'm so grateful for that. And she's doing awesome. She has her restaurant now,
Yeah.
Vegan Street Kitchen and Lounge, and it's doing really well. Great reviews all the time. The food is bomb, and yeah, she's doing what she's meant to be doing, and she's on her own journey, and it's amazing to see. When we had to part ways for the first time, though, I remember that was an extremely painful period. And it was probably more difficult on me because I don't know if I attach more or if just I'm more of a sensitive person. Maybe don't like change so much. So, but yeah, it's really cool where we have been on our journey as sisters. Like we weren't friends for a year or two in high school.
Hmm.
Uh, because she was the cheerleader
Yeah.
and I was the straight A pluses and worked a part-time job and just like had my head down and focused, and she was like with the cool kids, and there was a time where we were not close, and then that did change by the end of high school. But yeah, we've grown a lot together and apart, and it's really amazing to always have that person that you could check back in with who like knows you better than anyone else in the world.
For sure. No, I love that. And going back to a little bit when you guys had to go your separate paths, why was that? Yeah, can you just go into that a little bit more, like the circumstances surrounding that, how you kind of made that decision, how you navigated through that? Because especially with a twin, right, that relationship, like you said, you're so close. So I can imagine it's even harder of, other people going through even friendships, right? Friendships, relationships, whatever it might be. There a lot of times comes a point where your paths need to, divert. And sometimes you can still maintain, some sort of relationship. And sometimes, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you've gone different ways. And so that relationship has forever changed either way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that doesn't change is constant. It's always happening. Um, so yeah, I can speak to that. It was more driven by Lane's angst at the time. She had graduated from communications at U of C. It was a year and a half before I graduated. And
Okay.
she was just working as a server, kind of had that, almost like that ego kind of got bruised when you compared it to what I was doing, which was starting my internship for mechanical engineering. I was doing design and consulting for, a mechanical consulting firm. And, that's my degree, by the way, is mechanical engineering at U of C. So I think, there's even periods where the situation flips, where you compare yourself to the other twin. Where are they at? How are they doing? Am I on track with them? Am I keeping up? So, I think we got on different schedules too. And we were vegan at the time. So we had gone vegan. It's been 7 years now for me.
Wow.
She did it a little bit before me, a couple months. I was kind of like, no, I'm not doing that with you.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't even ask me to, but I was like, we're twins. We do everything together. And
Yeah.
you're going to, you know what? Even though like I am a vegan at my heart, like I was vegetarian before. It's in my values. It's, so anyway, so I guess jumping back, comparing twins. She was just feeling like not at the same place. Our schedules were opposite. It became, oh yes, this is what I was going to say. We used to always meal prep together and whatnot, but then our schedules got so demanding. And she was like, I am fine with brown rice with cut up tomatoes in it. It's like, what is that, Lane? And I'm like, no, if we're gonna do that, like, let's make a Mexi salad and like, and we were so even, very even with everything. So when we had different schedules and it was difficult, we just started fighting more and more, I guess. And it just became apparent that our paths were diverging. And so we made the decision that we don't want to be together and fighting all the time, and that it made sense for us to part ways. So she found a roommate and I found a roommate, and I got to move downtown. And kind of, start this new chapter. And like I said, it was really difficult on me, and it took a while. But actually Lane eventually figured out that she wanted to be a health coach, which she's not doing now, but still it was, part of the next steps for her. And she needed a test client, actually.
Okay.
And that was me. And it was incredible because a lot of her health coaching work was centered around, questioning your limiting beliefs and going through your wounds and all these, deeper topics. So when Lane and I got to do that work together, it was incredibly healing, and it brought us back together. And then we were in a great place, better than ever.
Super cool.
So it worked out really well.
Yeah, I love that. And so focusing a little bit more on you. So graduated mechanical engineering. And, engineering is one of those, let's call it fields where a lot of people aspire to be, right? Like doctor, engineer, lawyer, kind of lumped into that realm, I would say. I hear a lot. Can you talk a little bit about your journey with that? Are you still doing that? Obviously, like you said, you were that straight A+ student, and going into that world, and now just having some context on you, knowing that you are involved in a lot more, call it entrepreneurial type things as well, which is a lot of times very different from that school environment, that engineering environment. Can you just go into a little bit more about that journey through engineering, and and if you're still doing it now?
How much time do you have? I'm kidding. We've got an hour. So engineering, oh my God, I wanted to be so many different things when I was younger. I wanted to be an archaeologist, or a dermatologist was one thing, interior designer, like just random, all over the board. And in school, I became obsessed with math. Science was good. I liked it better than, writing or social studies, but math number one, science number two. And when it became time to apply for universities, I kind of was in that like really preconditioned societal sheep life, you know, where you just graduate high school and then you apply for university and then you get a job. And so when it was time to apply for university, I just thought, oh, engineering, that's a 4-year degree, uses math and science. I'm smart, I could do that.
Yeah.
Sure. And I realized I didn't like it by third year when it started to move more away from the theoretical into very practical stuff. I'm not a practical person. I live in dreamland. I like theories and concepts and big ideas. So I knew pretty early that it wasn't really for me, but I did want to see it through. So I did get a internship, which was 16 months long. So it was 5 years overall that I was in school. 6, if you count the extra year that I took, because there was a semester I really didn't want to work that hard anymore. I wanted to smoke weed, and watch Game of Thrones, and only be in 3 classes a semester, and that was a good year. And this engineering firm, they offered me a job when I graduated, and I took it, even though there was a part of me at that time that said, I don't really want to go into engineering, but I'll say yes to them and we'll see. You know, it's a fallback. And unfortunately, I did fall back on it because engineering is not for me. It's not my truth. And it actually was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do was walk away from that career path. Mm-hmm. And it was after about 1 mental breakdown, 7 months of therapy, and then another mental breakdown to realize that this is time. I've held on as long as I can. But to tie this back into my other extracurriculars and social entrepreneurship, if you will, that all started when I was on internship. Okay. So A+ student, loved to be busy all the time, worked a part-time job in high school. That never let up for a while. I'm not that person anymore, but come the internship, all of a sudden my school and my work were the same thing. I was getting paid to gain more experience in my field.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a part-time job on top of school. And I all of a sudden felt like I had so much free time that I needed something to do with. And I didn't know what that was until Lane met my current business partner, Andrea. So Lane is inextricable to my story. You can't take her out of it. You can't talk about me without her. Yeah. And so Lane met Andrea, and Andrea had just became vegan for the first time. And Lane was one of the only vegans that she knew.
Okay.
And again, if you're friends with Lane, you're friends with Janel. Yeah. This doesn't stop too much, even in adulthood. But so Lane and Andrea started doing these vegan meetups, and that's how I started hanging out with them. And then Andrea had the idea that Calgary should have a Veg Fest, a vegan food festival, because we didn't have anything like that. We didn't even have a lot of vegan restaurants back in 2016 when we're talking about this. There weren't a lot of vegan options. The Grit and Goat didn't exist, like Vegan Street didn't exist. There was just not a lot of representation. There was a community here, but you couldn't see it.
Gotcha.
So the idea was that we would put on this Veg Fest and, you know, see what happens. And I jumped on board with that pretty quickly because, like I said, I had free time. And when we started talking about it, my brain just lit up, because I will say that my engineering brain is something that I'll always have. It's, you know, systems thinking, processes, due diligence, whatnot, all the planning, logistics. So that really helped a ton with festival planning, because designing a festival is pretty much like designing a building. There's, you know, fire safety, like water, waste, porta potties, all the things, tents, structures, flow of traffic, electricity. Yeah. It's the same. So yeah, I got involved with Veg Fest Calgary. We had our first Veg Fest in 2017.
I remember. Yeah.
5,000 people came out, or so we estimate. You were there
Yeah.
with
Yes.
Madison's 1212
Yeah.
in a food truck, right?
The food truck. Yeah. With everybody learning together. It was fun. It was an amazing experience actually. So
Wasn't it though?
yeah. Yeah.
It was, for me, it was very surreal because we had spent all this time like planning and figuring out something that we had never done before. I'm sorry, I'll backtrack. This was a group of 8 people. It was a collaborative effort. It's blood, sweat, and tears of 8 people who had no experience with this stuff, except that the only thing that held us together is that we were all very passionate vegans
Yeah.
who wanted to create this space. So yeah, so it was really unbelievable being able to step inside this map that we had been drawing, this like vision that we had been cultivating for so long. And yeah, it was a huge success. And then, we actually, the funny part, we had never really thought about what would happen after that first Veg Fest. We're like, let's just have the Veg Fest.
Yeah.
And then it was successful. And now we had to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, rally the troops. Here we go. So we had one in 2018 and then 2019. And then 2020 was canceled this year due to COVID.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But it was actually a really nice break. Because this is volunteer work that we do.
Yeah.
It's a passion project. It's a labor of love. And it's hard not to pour yourself into it because I don't know, it's your baby.
Yeah.
We birthed this thing together, and yeah, it's hard not to love when you think of all the people that you've actually like affected. Last year there was some kids and they were like, mom, look at all the vegans, and they were just so happy to feel that they weren't like alone, because
Yeah.
we're still a small percentage of the population overall.
Yeah.
And it's easy to feel very alone, especially when you're living this like more, I mean, it's not restrictive, but because it truly is an abundant lifestyle in my opinion and most other vegans' opinion, but it is not very accommodated. So you do feel a little marginalized, sometimes, but it's definitely getting better. And I think Veg Fest has a lot to do with it. I'm proud to say that
Yeah.
all the restaurants started booming around that time. So yeah, we give ourselves some props for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that first one, and it's one of my favorite experiences in general, of just like that arc of doing something for the first time, everybody being unsure of, how it's going to go, how many people are going to show up, like we've never done this before. We don't know what we don't know almost, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
us there as a vendor being like, we don't know what to expect. We don't really have numbers to go off of. We're just, really taking a stab in the dark almost. And then it going extremely well, like so well, it's like, holy shit, like we're not prepared for this, like on our side. And I remember that day, like running over to Community Foods and like, where's your vegan cheese? I need all of it. And like, clearing them out, running back and forth, crazy busy day. And then at the end, that like, while you're in it, your head's spinning, you're going crazy, you're like, there's a million things I need to do. And then at the end, you have to look back on it and be like, wow, that was amazing. Like that was fucking awesome. I loved that. Right. And so I love that arc, and it's happened in a couple of experiences, and that being one of them for me. And it's
Mm,
just truly one of my favorite things to go through.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing is ever quite like the second Veg Fest was awful. The third Veg Fest, from my experience, we had no electricity. It's
Yeah.
a long story.
Yeah.
You remember that one.
Yeah.
But third Veg Fest was awesome. Definitely our best one yet. The highest attendance by far. But nothing really compares to that first one.
Yeah. So backing up a little bit, which is something that I think is super important and super brave on your part, actually. And I know that you were feeling that internal, call it struggle or dilemma of, I've spent 5, maybe 6 years in school for engineering, this, position that a lot of people look to, that a lot of people from the outside would go, maybe, are you crazy? Like, you want to leave engineering? Like, that's a good paying job. Like, you'll make lots of money. And, being brave enough to kind of go against, call it what you're supposed to do. Right.
Mm.
Um, and can you just give a little bit more insight of what allowed you to step away from that and pursue something that you're actually passionate about, instead of living the quote unquote life that you're supposed to live, where you go get a good paying job and then you work for 20, 30 years and then you retire?
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't really a choice anymore. I had held on for too long. I
Yeah.
mean, there is no whatever. It is what it is. Everything that I've gotten through has gotten me where I am right now. And yeah, so but yes, it was too long because I was not happy. I was running myself ragged.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't mention, but in addition to starting VegFest, Andrea, Lane, and I started Talk Vegan to Me clothing.
Yeah.
And that was just a whole other thing,
Yeah.
that I will never do that again. I wouldn't change a thing about the past, but I will never work a full-time job, run a nonprofit, and start a for-profit e-commerce business all in the same, like, no, never again. It's too much. It's impossible. I'm not a robot. I'm not a superhuman.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think there just came a point where it was a breaking point. It wasn't really a choice. It was on my radar always that, I didn't even really want to get back into engineering after school. But then something fell through with my current employer, and I kind of took that safe route, and went back there. But like I said, even in university around year 3, I was like, man, I don't know if I really want to do engineering anymore. So it was really just me finally, I guess, taking that step into what I knew for so long and was just really being very resistant to.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it sounds brave, and but it was kind of like there was really no other option.
Yeah.
And especially because I had that incredible experience with VegFest, and through Talk Vegan to Me, traveling to different cities and connecting with so many amazing people in this vegan community that I am, so proud to know and be a part of. And it was such heart-filling work, such rewarding, like soul-aligned work, that when I would come back to engineering and sit down and start sizing ducts and rainwater liters, it's just, it didn't, there was such a dichotomy, there was such a contrast that I couldn't ignore it. It was just in my face all the time, and it was kind of always weighing on me.
Yeah.
But you're right, like, absolutely. My parents were so proud that, like, they didn't graduate university. They were so proud that their daughter has this engineering job in a time where, not everyone has jobs for the degree that they went to school for. Yeah, that was an additional complication. So many people, you're crazy, you're passing up on this, steady paycheck, like benefits, RSP matching, paid vacation, like,
Yeah.
so you're right. But yeah, there really wasn't a choice. And as soon as I made that choice, I felt so incredibly light and felt so happy in my soul, and just I had space
Yeah.
to do what was the next right thing for me. And I think that's going to be my life going forward. it's probably not going to be, you know, one thing for the rest of my life. It's probably going to be one thing for the next maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we'll assess again in another 5 years. Yeah. I
Cool.
think it was just timing. It came down to that.
Cool. I
Time to
love
move
that.
on.
Yeah. That idea of like not getting stuck, right? And it's crazy how so often, you know, call it whatever you want to call it, you know, our bodies or our gut feeling, whatever it might be, we know what we need, right? A lot of times it's more that fear of following through, that fear of the judgment from other people. What will other people think, right? Yeah. So I still go back to, I think it was a brave decision, even though you felt like you didn't have any other choice. And because you mentioned it before too, and it's something that I've been very passionate about the last little while here, is just you know, call it mental health in general. And you know, if you wouldn't mind going into a little bit of your mental health journey, you know, kind of where it started, why it started, and going through that, because I think there is still a huge stigma around it. And you know, hearing that other people struggle with similar things, or you know, are going through things that you may not see, I think is super powerful. So I'd just love to hear more about that.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, taking it back to the very beginning and maybe oversharing a bit, but I was suicidal when I was 5 years old.
Really?
Randomly, I just, I didn't have self-worth. Um, Actually, I realized recently that parents who fight over divorce, that actually really, the child internalizes that a lot. So yeah, not random. I do know where the source of this is, but I didn't have any self-worth or confidence. And this was something that I struggled with, and, you know, still continue to have to like really be on top of. Because I guess that comparison, comparing yourself to others, is such an ingrained habit of mine from being a twin. You know, you have someone who's the same age as you, same opportunities as you. So there's that comparison. And I think that's, you know, maybe a huge source of where that comes from. But, you know, that's kind of the first memory of, you know, anything being kind of off. But a lot of my mental health stuff comes from burnout. So stretching myself way too thin and just piling too much on. So I remember it was my second semester, or the first year of, you know, second year, first semester of university. It was like the best GPA ever. I took 6 classes, was killing it. You know how they say you could choose 3 things in university: sleep, social life, or grades. For me, it was grades and social life. So I didn't really sleep, but I got excellent grades and I had a good time. I was having a great time first couple of years of university. But then by the second semester, I had burned myself out. I, you know, would go home and go straight to bed. It was like probably my worst and first depression. And then, you know, it's a matter of building and kind of switching things up. Affirmations helped me a lot. But, you know, there's always another time where like I'll be good and then I'll go through that divot again. So my work recently is trying to not catastrophize anymore, and also not, like, in the bad times, and then not be euphoric or just too attached to this cloud 9 when things are going really well. Because I think that affects things quite a bit. It's like, oh, the sky's falling. Oh, everything's amazing. So, but yeah, no, I mentioned the depression, the small depression after me and my sister stopped living together. That was like the second one. And then my most recent one was earlier this year. Like, and I think a lot of this has to do with, well, attachment, self-worth, but the most recent one I think was an identity crisis almost. Definitely very on par with what we're talking about here with your journey and like, where do you go next? Are you on the right path? I really felt like I didn't even know where the path was anymore. So yeah, it's kind of been this constant journey throughout my life. And yeah, like I said, the work now is to try to smooth out those valleys and ridges and be able to be more constant, um, and unwavering no matter what is going on in my life, no matter what's happening with my career, or whether my laptop is broken or I lost this or that, and whatever other thing is making me very unhappy for the moment, just kind of realizing or taking that moment to be more equanimous, you know,
Yeah,
wrote it all.
for sure. And almost minimizing those valleys and peaks, right? So that the swings aren't so extreme. Yeah. And I
Totally.
know a ton of that resonated, right? And, I also very similarly and very similar to the same time as you, I've been calling it my quarter life crisis, right? That like identity crisis of, yeah, what path am I even on? Let alone is it the right one, right? I think a big thing that has stuck with me, um, was I had started to learn that about myself. I was always seeking other people's approval, right? And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for approval. I was looking for that external validation. And whenever I would get it, it wouldn't land, and I would need more anyways, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I was chasing, even when I caught it, it wouldn't, satisfy that need. And what has stuck with me was one day my therapist asked me, she went, if you achieved nothing else in your life than what you've achieved right now, would you be successful? And it stuck with me because I didn't know how to feel, because looking at it, without feeling attached, it was like, well, yeah. And like other people would say yes, but I don't feel like I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was that, that lack of an answer that really just stumped me and bugged me and went, okay, there's something's broken in this thinking path.
Mm-hmm.
And diving into that. Yeah. So thank you for opening up about that. And, do you have any tools that you've found have helped you? I know that you mentioned affirmations. And when you say that, um, is that affirmations from other people? Is that more self-talk of, positive self-talk for yourself? Like, what are some of the tools that have helped you?
Um, yeah, so the affirmations generally come from within, kind of
Yeah.
like that higher self. Um, Sometimes when you hear something and you're like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" um, yeah, one of them that always gets me through dark times is, "I love you, I forgive you, I give you permission to," and then you fill in the blanks with whatever you need in that moment. Um, uh, Another one is just good days and bad. That not every day is going to be good, and you don't have to hold this attachment to it being so, because every day is different, every moment can change. um, and I guess this came up when you were kind of countering there, is with regard to identity and your accomplishments, like not attaching those to, kind of, yeah, taking more of a stock of who you are separate from those accomplishments, and just being more steady in yourself, I think is huge. Um, Another huge tool for me is like a spiritual practice. Um, just kind of realizing that you do not have to, you don't have to hold everything. You don't have to carry everything. You don't have to know what the path is going to be. You can surrender up those fears and those worries, um, and not have to carry them anymore. And I think my best times in life that I have are when I am able to kind of put the future, put my path into the hands of the universe and just let it guide and support me. And really magical stuff always tends to happen when I do. So yeah, I think, yeah, getting in touch with that higher self, is huge. Yoga is one of those amazing workouts for me in that sense. It really unites, mind, body, and spirit. But yeah, all those hippie things. crystals, even incense, just taking time by myself. I come across as an extrovert, a lot of people say, but I'm actually very introverted. Um, so being able to say no to plans and taking time for myself to just sit and reflect on my day and integrate that into my being is very important for me
Yeah.
to actually be a sane person and be able to give the best version of myself to my community, to my loved ones. Um, so yeah, actually making sure that you take care of yourself. You don't run yourself ragged. You don't pile everything on until you're stretched so thin that you're literally as a therapist in tears for hours and you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Taking time, I think creating that space
For
for
sure.
yourself.
Yeah. And a lot of those really resonated with me, and thank you for sharing those. And, a couple of them that really stuck out was that taking it one day at a time, right? That you will have good days, you will have bad days. And that's one thing that I have adopted recently is, when I start to feel that, like, myself being down, kind of almost in that depressed headspace, it's like, okay, like, today was a bad day. Let's go to bed. Let's see what tomorrow's like. Right.
Mhm.
Like, and a lot of times I'll feel better the next day. I was like, okay, it was just a day. Right. And it's just watching that and monitoring that of, okay, now we've been down for a week straight. Like, okay, maybe there's something going on. Right. But not stressing myself out about it and having that self compassion of you're having a
Mhm.
bad day and that's okay. Um, and again, that self-compassion has been so huge for me the last little while. And one thing that I've really tried to latch onto that came up when you were speaking is, just being you is enough. You are enough because
Mhm.
you are you, and it doesn't matter what your accomplishments are. It doesn't matter what kind of job you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's just being you is enough. um yeah, yeah, so I love that. And again, thank you for sharing that. And going back to what really hit home for me was, I would call it 6 months ago ish, was I started having these sort of deeper conversations with people. And you know people opening up and talking about things like having suicidal thoughts or actually attempting to take their own life, um, really hit home so hard for me, because you look at them from the outside and you
Mhm.
go, oh, well, this person like has so much going for them, they're so happy, they're this amazing person. And it blew me away of the disconnect of what I saw and what was actually going on, of like, wow, they are struggling, right? There's so much under the surface that people hide. um, and if these people that seem like they're doing so well, are having these sorts of thoughts, how many people in general are having these thoughts? And that's why I really have made a push to try to have these conversations, try to create spaces for people to open up about it. Because I think one of the hardest things about going through tough periods in your life like that is doing it alone, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, and just the importance of community. um, and I guess I was just curious if you could speak more on that, on just community, because I know that, well, one, the vegan community is so close, right? And what I've come to learn, right, is just how close everybody is and how much they care about each other. And yeah, where you have found community, and if they have been able to help you with some of the things that you've struggled with. Because I guess the other thing that I found interesting is it was almost easier to open up about some of this stuff with people I wasn't super close with.
Mhm.
Those friends that I've had for 10 years, you kind of have the status quo of like, this is what we talk about, this is what we go into. And sometimes it's tough to throw that curveball of, well, actually, I want to talk about this today, even though we've never touched on it, the whole time we've known each other. So
Mhm.
just your thoughts on community, where you found it, and yeah, if it's been helpful and how helpful.
Sure. So I'm actually a very private person. Um, and an open book at the same damn time. Uh,
What do you mean?
I it's a riddle, Jared. I feel like a walking contradiction a lot of the time, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I haven't really leaned on my community with the mental health stuff so much, the vegan community in particular. But what that community has done for me is um, really instill my sense of purpose. Uh, the fact that myself, along with all these other organizers of Veg Fest, or myself along with Andrea and Lane, have been able to have these incredible experiences with so many different people. Like I've met so many different people that I like, so many more people than an introvert ever should. Um, and these experiences have inspired me. They've given me, like those random conversations that you'll just have with someone, and it just like gives you a whole new perspective, or you know, a light bulb goes off, or even you just feel connected, like in that moment, that there's actually something more going on, or that brought you two together to have this conversation. I've had so many of those magical experiences within the vegan community over the years, and it is what I think gave me that courage to walk away from engineering, is that there was so much inspiration, so much more out there, so much fulfillment that I was able to get from these experiences, that it made me realize that, it's not worth settling,
Yeah.
because there is this whole other side that I have been able to tap into, and I could tap into even more if I wasn't, chained to my desk, sizing pressure drops. So in that sense, that's how my community helped me a ton. For mental health stuff, though, I've always leaned on like a very close group. One of my I have two best friends by the name of Anne.
Okay.
Both of them have been like my lifesavers, and my twin also. My mom, very close with her. Yeah, so eventually leaning on my therapist, who is also God sent, like amazing woman. She actually, I had some issues. I had some resentment issues with my mom, actually, with my parents' divorce, because I felt like it was more her doing.
Yeah.
About to step on the laptop, so I had to. Didn't want to disconnect the call. That was Milo, by the way. Milo, yeah, he's my new rescue cat.
Oh.
So yes, it was always, my mom and I had some resentment issues towards my mom, and honestly, they would come up even until like January 2019. I was still having like just various things that would just make me snap at her on vacation. Like, why am I snapping at my mom?
Yeah.
And my therapist helped me through that when I was getting coaching for, releasing those expectations, or releasing what I thought I expected of myself, or other people expected of me, for staying in engineering. And in that time, I was able to like work through my mommy issues. So yeah, no, my therapist is huge. I think just having someone to bounce your ideas off of.
Yeah.
I'm an overthinker. I get stuck in my head a lot. So being able to put it out loud is helpful. And then having someone to, bounce those ideas off of.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's so funny, like that story of like, oh, like I still resent my mom, and almost that, like, that's weird, right? It resonated with me because that was very similar on my, journey with my therapist of, she started asking me about my childhood. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, I've made peace with that. Like, everything's fine. This is what I'm struggling with, right? And she's like, okay, yeah, sure. And then we started going into that, and it was like, oh, actually, no, it was this. And then we'd work through that. Like, oh, actually, it's this. And we going down layers and layers. And I always think of it almost like peeling back an onion, right? Of like going down the layers. And then we go almost to the root of it. And like, oh, I actually do have a lot of things from my childhood I still need to work through. And so, yeah, that's why I've been on a kick of being curious about people's childhood and how they grew up. And
Mhm.
because we're shaped so much and we make so many decisions about our life at a very, very young age, and they become ingrained in us, and we don't actually know where we've taken those lessons from. Like, oh, this is a decision I made when I was 9 years old, and it's just been truth for me my entire life, um, even though it's might not quote unquote be true, right? And like now looking at it as an adult, maybe I don't actually believe that. Maybe I want to make a different decision about that. So I definitely understand a little bit of some of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you really can't ignore that
yeah,
past. You carry it with you, and yeah, I have the same theory. Healing happens in layers. You literally cannot access that inner layer until you peel off that top one.
yeah, I love that.
So so that's why also like with being like trying like working on being more steady in my mental health
Mm,
is I'm able to take comfort in that, well, this is probably just something coming up that I wasn't able to access before. And now I'm at a point where I can heal that and move through it. So perspective is everything when you're going through those tough times, like being able to cancel your negative self-talk and coach yourself out of it.
yeah, it's so tough, but it's so important. Yeah, amazing. As we're kind of finishing up here, one of the last questions, because it's something that I've been struggling with a lot, is, call it a life mission or a calling or a passion, whatever it might be. And so I'm always curious to ask other people. So if you don't know, that's more than fine as well, because I have no idea. But do you think that you found your calling or passion, or call it a North Star? And if so, what is it?
I mean, career wise, like I said, I'm always going to be bouncing around, and I don't know that that's always going to be in line with what that is. But ultimately, and I've said this since I was super young, and it's super cheesy, very Miss America, but I want to make the world a better place. I want to be part of that positive change in
Yeah.
the world. Um, there's there's it seems so big, like an impossible task, but it starts small. I don't know if your high school had this poster, but it said, what is it? Uh, think, think globally, act locally.
Yes. Yes.
Dividend, something to that effect. Um, and yeah, my goal is to make the world, I mean, not go vegan because that's impossible. There are various cultures who, it does not make sense. They don't have access to this food. It is a privileged way of eating in certain parts of the world, or certain ways of doing it. So not saying make the world go vegan, but if I could reduce the suffering in the world, increase compassion and kindness, um, if we could just treat everyone better. And I guess my philosophy is that everything is connected. So, like, why would we put anything negative into the world? Which, of course, is something I have to remind myself of even when I'm going through my dark times. Like, hey, Janelle, you're putting something negative right now because you're being hard on yourself. But yeah, just make the world a better place for everyone in it, because it is so intrinsically connected, and we're not alone. We have to kind of lean on our community and do what we can to make it less shitty.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. I love that a lot. And I love it because there's so much flexibility in it too. You can approach it in so many different ways. So I really do love that. Is there anything that we didn't get to that you wanted to touch on? Is there any questions for me that you had? Anything like that?
Ooh, um, yeah, I got a good one for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
What's your biggest lesson you learned this year?
I have an answer actually. Yeah.
I
It's
love it.
to trust myself and to trust my gut. and just to listen to it, because there are a lot of instances when I went against my gut and I knew that in my body was telling me that this is wrong. And I did it anyway because I told myself this is what I'm supposed to do, or I was trying to gain somebody's approval. Um, and just really trying to go back to listening to that gut feeling and listening to, to myself, and trusting myself that I know what's right.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
What
I'm
about
so proud of you. You started this podcast, and
Thank you.
like we had gone for coffee. When was that? In February?
I think so. Yeah, that's right when I was just starting everything. Kind of call it kicking off my quarter life crisis. So
Right.
yeah.
And look what you've done. It's amazing that you know, you didn't get stuck in the, oh, what should I do next, and just jump in. I think I heard it on one of your podcasts. It's like everything you do, it's going to give you, like, whether you go to this school or that school, you'll be exposed to certain ideas, or an event will happen that wouldn't have happened if you went somewhere else. And yeah, doing this podcast is amazing. Like, regardless of what happens for you in 5-10 years from now, or what that plan is, this is going to help you and so many people. I think it's really incredible that the topic that you've chosen for this podcast is talking about people's life journeys. Because like right now, I'm I'm working on Veg Fest. We're actually selling Talk Vegan to me.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, yes. I'm not sure when this goes to air, but maybe the deal will be done by then.
Super exciting. Okay.
But so what is in store for me next is, it's honestly, I'm looking at a few different options. So yeah, reflecting on my journey and all of this, it's really been helpful being on this podcast and listening to your previous episodes. And I really thank you for the work that you're doing. It's very helpful for people like me, and I'm sure lots of people. So yeah, thank you.
That means a ton. I really do appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, you kind of half answered it already, but my last question was going to be, what does the next phase in your journey look like?
Yeah, like I said, at this point, I'm thinking I like accounting.
Okay.
I know, I laugh at myself too, because it's like she quits engineering to go into accounting. Like, so boring. But no, in all honesty, I find numbers very intriguing and fascinating, and they just never lie. I love numbers. So maybe a data analyst, that's the word. Probably not that. No, we'll see. I might, I love seeing and creating beauty. So maybe it's something more along the lines of working in an architect's office, doing something similar to what I was doing in engineering, but now for the people who care about aesthetics and not, I mean, heat control is important.
Yeah.
Plumbing is important, but no one sees it. No one appreciates it except for the mechanical engineers. So, yeah, staring at a few different options right now, but I think what I'm really taking away from this conversation is it really doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you are bringing you to the table, and yeah, really like holding that precious, because that is what you share with the world, and that is how I'm going to, live out that legacy, or what you had asked me before is by being me. So
I love that. I love that a lot. So thank you for that. Thank you for this. Where can people find you? Where can people find the projects that you're working on? Where would be best?
My Instagram is probably the best. It's not a very fun name. It's JP, as in Janel Page. And then my last name, I think you said Favreau by accident. It's Pedro.
Pedro.
With a D. It's all good. It's a tough one. Sounds French, but it's German. Yeah. So my Instagram, JP Pedro, is a good spot. I have links to Veg Fest, Talk Vegan to Me, and Vegan Street, my sister's restaurant, where I'm currently doing their accounting stuff. and having a great time doing it. So yeah, one day at a time, we'll figure out the next step. But for now, I'm very, very happy living here in my apartment with my two cats and seeing my sister almost every day. Yeah, it's everything's good. Everything's exact. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And yeah, it's a good feeling.
Awesome. Well, Janelle Phaedro, thank you so much. And we'll chat soon, okay?
I love it. Yes. Thank you, Jared.
Thanks.